Hi, my name is Paul. This video is especially important to me because it is the first episode of a new series. In this series, I'm going to show you how to create virtual tours and how to start a photography business. Actually, it is the first video on my English language channel. I've been a Polish virtual tour photographer since 2013. I have already made videos about virtual tour photography on my Polish language channel, but you probably wouldn't be able to understand a single word of them. However, my old Polish videos were not intended for photographers. They were made primarily only to advertise my services in Poland, to present who I am and to prove that I am a capable person to be hired as a virtual tour photographer. And I think that I reached my goal, as if you search on YouTube Wirtualny Spacer Google, almost all of the results are mine. Virtual tour photography is still a kind of a niche compared to traditional photography, although my Polish YouTube channel has only 2000 subscribers. In my country it is the most popular one about this type of photography. I'm telling you this because it helped me a lot with getting customers and gaining experience. It also caused people who were interested in learning virtual tour photography to start approaching me with questions. What software do I use? Which camera? And how to start creating virtual tours? And you know what? I was avoiding answering these questions. Usually I was just giving some general tips, but I was afraid of really helping these people, as it took me a lot of effort to actually become a virtual tour photographer myself. From today's perspective, it is funny that I was the most afraid of sharing my knowledge when I was only a beginner photographer and I hadn't had much to share with them. But over the years I started to wonder what would actually happen if I start recording videos not only for my clients, but also for other photographers. I realized that it would allow me to create much more interesting content and maybe it would also give me some other benefits. That's why I'm going to start sharing my knowledge, my experience, giving you the behind the scenes, and most importantly, I will show you that you are also able to learn all of that. I decided to create a virtual tour photography course. When I was working, I've been making notes with ideas for future episodes. Then I realized that in order to convey my knowledge in an accessible way, it has to be properly sorted and the order of the episodes should be well thought out. Consequently, today a plan with around 100 ideas has been created. These videos are planned to introduce you to virtual tours from top to bottom. In order not to bore you with my talking head, I will show you the behind the scenes of my photo sessions in various locations. In the third episode I will introduce you to the whole plan of my photography course. This episode is the first one and it belongs to the basic category. It is my introduction video. Today I will talk less about photography, but rather more about me and my personal life. In the future there will be many episodes focused on more technical aspects. But I think this episode is equally important because today I want to show you that you don't need to be born with some special skills to become a virtual tour photographer. I have written every word of this video, as you may have already noticed. Maybe it is a bit artificial, but believe me, if I didn't have script in front of me, this episode would last at least several hours, and it would be much less interesting. Before we dive further into my photography career, it is worth mentioning briefly what my situation looks like today after 9 years since I started. Once more, hi, my name is Paul. I've been doing commercial photography since 2013. I have experienced many different kinds of photography, beginning with architecture, product, portrait and culinary photography. In my spare time, I also like to insert myself into photos of my favorite movie characters with a little bit of help of my Photoshop skills. I also took pictures of events like conferences, corporate meetings and even weddings. But since the beginning of my career, I've been always focused on creating virtual tour photography. So far, I've taken thousands of panoramic pictures. Most of them you can see on my Google Maps profile, to which I will leave a link in the description below this video. However, you will not find all of my panoramas there, because sometimes I also work as a subcontractor for other companies. For example, one of my biggest projects was shooting virtual tour for a large chain of gyms in Poland. I have already documented 49 of them and they are still opening new ones. I've traveled to many different places and met loads of interesting people. I cooperated with both local companies and also large, well-known brands. Since I started 9 years ago, photography has been the only source of income for me. I know that earnings are a very interesting topic, so I will tell you more about this in the second episode. In the beginning, it wasn't as easy as you may think. As long as we still have access to the internet, I hope we will, I think that virtual tours are a very future-oriented industry. This technology will simply go mainstream. In fact, you can place virtual tours not only on a website, but most importantly on Google Street View Maps, Booking.com and also Facebook, and some of the real estate platforms. I think it is definitely worth learning more about this technology. If you are already in business, but this type of photography is new to you, adding virtual tour is definitely worth considering. If you are just starting to learn photography, then virtual tours are a great way to learn the basics. In my case, it is the main service in my offer. Today I have a group of regular clients and a good brand. In previous years I didn't need to spend any money on advertising, but it wasn't always like that. I'm not gonna be talking now about the whole story of my life, but I think it is important for you to know how it all started, so you can understand the path that I went through. Let's go back to the times before I started the company, when I was still a teenager. I have two brothers, Piotrek and Wojtek. I have to mention a little bit more about Piotrek. He is 2 years older than me and he had a big influence on me. Since I remember, he always had passion for creating websites and graphic design. He started doing it in middle school and soon after high school he started making his first money. I don't want to say that it was easier for him. However, Piotrek had something that I lacked a lot. He had an idea, some kind of goal that he tried to reach. I never had that at all. I didn't know what I wanted to do in my life. When I was graduating middle school, I had no idea what direction I wanted to choose next. I was never especially good nor at science nor at humanities. Finally, due to lack of better prospects, I chose the same profile as my brother Piotrek did. It was a mix of mathematics, physics and IT. But I had a huge problem with graduating. I needed to take some extra classes to catch up with other students. Many years later, when I finally finished high school, I still had some nightmares about exams. Maybe it's better to get over with this whole school topic. I'm happy to have it behind me. Meanwhile, in Poland there were some subsidiary programs for people willing to start their own business. My brother Piotrek applied to one of them and managed to get a grant for set up his own business. With the money, he bought a new computer and office equipment. At this time, we still lived together in my parents' house. I think that Piotrek would have set up his own business anyway, even without the subsidiary program. I saw that he was getting better and better at creating websites and such a grant was a natural way for him to develop. At this time, I didn't even think that I could ever try to do something similar. Starting business? No, I didn't even know what type of services I could offer. After school, I was going to take studies and go to a regular job. After I finished high school, I decided to take studies on the weekends. I chose the logistics specialization, although I wasn't a huge fan of this profile. I had a little bit of hope that it can help me to find a well-paid job later on. Meanwhile, I started looking for my first job, and then I got a huge slap on my face. I saw how the real life looks and how much it sucks from the point of view of someone with absolutely no skills and with only a general school diploma. Today I think it was one of the most difficult points of my life. I was scared. I realized that I'm no longer a teenager and I need to start taking some serious decisions for myself. I guess most people have had a moment like this at some point of their lives, looking for the first job without any experience. I wouldn't ever want to go back in time to be a teenager and go through all of that over again. Let's go back to my story. I finished high school, I started doing extramural studies and after a few months I managed to find my first job in sales. It was an internship program, so I was earning less than the minimum wage. It was around $220 per month. It was my first job and I had a lot to learn. Today I look back at this time quite positively, but not because of the earnings. My friend brought me into this job and we had a great time working together, but I wasn't interested in motorcycles, so I wasn't really good at selling their accessories. I didn't see any long-term prospect for myself there. On the other hand, I saw how my brother Piotrek was doing well with his own business. I have heard that there are still some subsidiary programs available, though at that time I didn't have any particular idea of what kind of business I could start. So why did I decide to try to become a photographer after all? It would sound cool if I say that photography was my passion, that I loved taking pictures since I was born. Unfortunately, the answer is much less romantic. Firstly, I didn't have any better prospects. Moreover, my parents urged me to give it a try to take a subsidiary like my brother Piotrek did. After all, and perhaps most importantly, the subsidiary program was a very safe option. The grant was non-refundable. Most of the grant money could be invested in equipment. Photography business doesn't have high operating costs. For example, no need to rent a room, no need to hire people. So, in the worst scenario, if my business would have failed, I could sell the equipment and earn some money this way. So you can see I become a photographer for a rather prosaic reason: money. Yes, I was a little interested in photography, but I would have never ever considered myself a photographer. I had written a business plan and I took part in an interview for the subsidiary program, but my applications were denied twice. Finally, on my third attempt, I succeeded and I got into the program. It is a topic for another video, so long story short, on the 2nd of August, I got $10,000 of subsidiary. I finally was able to run my own business. I bought a computer, camera, lenses, tripod and also my first car. I will tell you more about my equipment in a separate video. I felt really happy and proud. I was sure that from that point everything is gonna be easier. I was sure that taking pictures was not as complicated thing to do and soon I will start making profits. I was finally able to run my own business. I bought a computer, camera, lenses, tripod and also my first car. I will tell you more about my equipment in a separate video. Then I received the second huge slap on my face. I realized that having good equipment doesn't mean that people would like to pay for my photos. Actually, finding clients who are willing to pay for my services is harder than learning how to use the camera. When I was starting my business, I wasn't good at taking photos nor at advertising myself. Today, I think that being able to sell your services is maybe even more important than your photographic skills. If you are good at selling your services, you will have a lot of work. And if you have a lot of work, you will take a lot of pictures. And if you take a lot of pictures, then you will learn photography from your mistakes. But on the other hand, if you have a talent for photography, but you can't start making money, it would be very difficult for you to develop your photography skills. You simply will not have time to polish your hobby every day and learn photography by doing it just for fun. You have to use photography to earn money. Only then you will be able to start practicing every day by using your camera, lights, Lightroom, Photoshop and other things. Therefore, my course is not only about photography, but a huge part of it is dedicated to teach you how to sell your services and keep good relations with your clients. One of my first virtual tours I made for a grocery store for $25. I also remember how happy I was driving 200 miles to shoot photos for $100. In the first 12 months of my business, I was earning on average $120 monthly, so it was less than in my first regular job in a motorcycle shop. The worst part of it was the feeling of how unstable my profits were. I had some better months when I was earning good money, but more often I was earning almost nothing. I didn't even know if it would ever get more stable. Then I was living with my parents and it was a time to start contributing to the bills. At the same time, I felt sorry for every penny that I spent and I was trying to save money on everything. I even learned to do accounting on my own, so I was able to save $40 per month to cut down my expenses. My girlfriend Ada was studying in Poznań city. I wanted to live together with her in Poznań, but I was afraid to move out of my parents' house. For a long time I wasn't sure if I could handle it financially. That's how I got started. I took every possible job and I kept trying to get more jobs by offering low prices. At that time I had so many thoughts about should I continue to work as a photographer. The second year was a little bit better, but still far from the sense of stability. Although I could close the company and sell the equipment, I didn't want to do it. First of all, closing your business is difficult because it feels like admitting to be defeat. Most importantly, what else would I be doing? The money would soon run out, so I tried to develop my business in the hope that it is possible. I didn't have a lot of jobs, so when I had one, I tried to do it as professionally as possible, and this way I learned a lot. Among my close friends, I'm still considered to be frugal, but I'm not ashamed of it. Actually, it makes me proud. I have learned that my earnings are not regular, so I like to have a financial cushion set aside for bad times if they come. But even now, when I started earning quite more regularly, I still have this fear of spending too much money, which is probably caused by my struggles in the beginning. To give you an example, I didn't change my car for a long time. For 8 years I had one car that I bought with money from the subsidiary. Unfortunately, I had to say goodbye to it because the cost of the repairs started to exceed its total value. In 2021 I finally allowed myself to buy a slightly better model. I would rather invest in photographic equipment, which has an impact on the quality of my services, and above all, its purchase often pays off for itself after just a few photo sessions. If you know what equipment to buy, there is no investments with a higher rate of return. All in all, I have invested over $40,000 in photographic equipment over these 9 years. I switched from Nikon to Sony systems, bought many lenses, lights and whole bunch of more and less necessary things. Not every purchase was a bull's eye. I think I could make a separate film about that. 3 years ago I felt confident enough to move to Poznań together with Ada. It has been 9 years since I started my own business. Not only I have learned how to be a photographer, but also how to deal with any situation. Photography gives me incredible satisfaction and fun. In 2019, together with my brother Piotrek, we merged our companies into one. Today we have common clients and often work for the same ones. When I created the script for this episode, I wanted to consult it with my brother Piotrek. I sent this text to him and he called me back saying, "You know, everything is great, but it would be better if you mentioned that it is best to start doing business when you are young and you live with your parents, because then you are able to try different ideas and you don't have a huge cost of living." He was absolutely right, but I told him that I was afraid to include this in the video. I was afraid that someone older would be afraid that it is already too late for him. After we finished our conversation, I was still thinking about it, and I realized that I was afraid for no reason. Yeah, it's much better to start your business as soon as possible, and it's great if you are able to take advantage of a subsidiary program as I did. Not everyone is going to have as good conditions as I had, but it's not reason to give up. You would avoid making many mistakes and save a lot of time being able to get straight to the best solutions. My goal is to create a course about virtual tours with the knowledge that I didn't have when I was a beginner photographer. It takes me quite a bit of time to create all these materials, so if you are wondering what my interest is, I will tell you this in the next video. Thank you for watching this video. If you want to help me, I will be extremely grateful for your likes and subscriptions. YouTube is ruled by its algorithms, which have a huge impact on the channel growth, and in addition, you're simply giving me the motivation to keep posting new videos. If you don't want to miss another episode, in the description below there is a link to my newsletter, which you can subscribe to. Then I will send you an email notification about every new episode. I would love to read your comments. Maybe you can share your experiences. Even if you work in a different industry, I would love to read them. If you have made it so far, then again thanks for watching and see you in the next episode.